level. Next level.
Hello everyone, welcome to the first session in our power ranking series, our power ranking project series, sorry I should say. I will explain all what that means. We've just got about 2.5 minutes till we get started. Just firstly, my name is Rich, I'm the founder and head coach at RIAK Fitness. We're a coaching outfit. You'll see various adverts playing above me as to what we do. If you want to know more, check out our website, riak.fitness. Going to try and keep the plugs to a minimum. There's lots of explanation as to what we're actually doing in this series first. Now this session in particular is going to be very kind of a bit of an information overload. Don't worry, we will repeat a lot of the stuff that we're talking about tonight. So don't worry if any of it goes over your head. Just going to do a quick introduction on the race radio on RGT. So if you hear me repeating myself, if I just basically repeat exactly what I've just said, I apologise. So much tech going on. Okay, just a quick hello to everybody on RGT. Now, if you hadn't planned on doing so, I really would recommend joining us on the live Zoom coaching feed or following the live stream, all the details for which are in the RGT event description. Otherwise, guys, the sessions in this series, they won't make sense and you probably won't get very much out of them. Well, you'll get a lot out of them, you'll get a good session out, I guess, but you won't be doing it the right way. So I really recommend come to join us on Zoom or following the live stream, all the details of which are in the RGT event description, or you can also go to our website riak.fitness, head to the RIAK online page, all the details are on there as well. Anyway, so have a good session everyone. Hope to see you on the coaching feed, whichever version you choose. Have a good session. Thanks guys. Okay. So many different things going on. I've got live chats from the live stream, I've got Zoom, I've got my WhatsApp open in case there's something wrong. Got several different things going on. Anyway, right, just a few minutes to get started. So, a quick heads up, we will be turning erg mode off in this session, but it'll be quite late on. I'll talk you all through that, guys. That's for people with smart bike or smart trainer. Nothing to do for now, 3 seconds. Here we go, off we pop. Nice, gentle warm up, starting off at around 56% of FTP. So just creeped into that zone 2 area, which hopefully many of us will know. Yeah, nice and chill, 3 out of 10 effort, it should feel like. So what are we doing here? What is this power ranking nonsense? Well, basically we started a project a few months ago. Well, I've been building it for a long time in the background, but the project launched a couple of months ago, where essentially we want to help people make training a little bit more fun, a little bit more, what's the expression, competitive. Because not everybody's an e-racer. Not everybody likes the team time trials, all the events on RGT. Quite a lot of people just want to be fit, and maybe, you know, they want to be a bit fitter than their mates. And so that's what really the Power Ranking Project is all about. It's helping you to gather metrics, and you send us your data, we publish the data, and basically you get ranked according to each metric. And it basically just means that if maybe you are an e-racer and each time you get to the end and there's this one person who keeps blasting you in the final sprint and you're like, why? What do I have to do to beat them? the idea of the project is that you'll be able to go to that hierarchy, that league table or power, and then you'll see, oh, actually, here's 5-second power, he's got 100 watts on me. And so, yeah, you know, the idea is it just means like, oh, okay, these guys are better than me at this area, that's what I need to work on. And so it almost kind of makes it training a little bit more instinctive, I suppose is a way of thinking about it. You go to the timetable, to the league table, you see, oh, okay, my 5-second power is quite a lot lower than my rivals or my mates. That's an area that I need to work on. Now, what the hell am I talking about when I'm talking about 5-second, 5-minute power? Again, you can probably guess. But essentially, what they are is what's called your peak powers, okay? Or your critical powers, as some other methodologies call it. Essentially what they are is your personal best power over a specific time frame. Okay, you can do it over any time frame, to be honest. But there's kind of 4 key ones that the vast majority of people use, and they are your best possible power over 5 seconds, your best possible power over 1 minute, over 5 minutes, and then what your FTP is. And there's various other ones in between there, which, to be honest, we use a fair few. We use 20 second, we use 2 minute, because for us, depending on the athlete, they tell us something about them. So yeah, basically it's your personal best over those different time frames, and essentially what those personal bests mean is they correlate to different metabolic changes in your body. They correlate to different ways that your body produces energy. Okay, don't worry, I'm going to pause there. Just let that sort of sink in. We'll just come to the second step of the warm-up. Still in erg mode for now. Up to around 60% of FTP, so it should still feel like a 3 out of 10 effort. So I'll just repeat some of that. This power ranking product is basically about collecting your personal best over specific time frames. We publish those in a league table, so you can everyone can see everyone's powers, and you can see kind of where you might be better or worse than your mates, and then use that to influence your training. That's kind of what it's all about, really. Okay, just make it all a bit more competitive. So there is kind of resources out there already. I was going to show you one table just very briefly. Okay, I'm going to show you tons of charts in this. But this chart here is called the Coggan tables. Okay, and these are basically the whole universe of cycling compiled into a chart, and you can kind of see where you rank in the whole universe of cycling, which is obviously really useful up to a certain extent. You know, you can see my 5-minute power is novice, or is fair, or maybe it's, you know, you're a Cat 1 level racer, you know. But for me and we've just found over the years that, you know, this has limited application. It's interesting. But the vast majority of amateur athletes kind of fit into quite a narrow sector of these peak power charts, and to the extent where, you know, you question their usefulness. And so really what the power ranking project is about is kind of creating sets of tables or league tables that are kind of for the narrower subset of the cycling world, which is more applicable to us amateur riders. Yeah, so you hopefully understand what I mean. It's all great knowing what you might need to put out for a world-class athlete, but, you know, how about for someone who's kind of on the cusp between 3 and 4? You know, what do you need to do in order to, you know, make that next step? So that's what all this is about. Just making these sorts of charts, these sorts of metrics more accessible, more applicable, and more useful. Hopefully some of that made sense. Gonna take a brief little pause, have a little drink, and I'll talk some more. In fact, I'll just take a pause from the power ranking chat. Let's talk to you about what we're doing tonight. So we have got everyone's most hated session, I'm afraid. It's an FTP test. So I told you earlier that one of those peak powers is your FTP. And that's what we're going to be testing for tonight. Okay, so each of these sessions is essentially a test, but hopefully a lot more fun than tonight. Tonight is got to be the least enjoyable of the sessions. There's only a few ways you can really test your FTP, which I will talk about in a second. But basically, the other sessions are a little bit more, we're trying to make them more exciting, more dynamic. We've got time trials, we've got hill tests, we've got hopefully some good sessions coming our way. This is the worst one. You know, I can't dress it up. It's an FTP test, so all we got is this nice long warm-up. At the moment we're into about 64% of FTP, so on to the cusp of sort of like a 4 out of 10 effort, 10 being a full-on sprint. Once we get to the top of this kind of 15-minute warm-up build, we then got 3 fast pedaling efforts, each of them is a minute long, which is quite long, holding an arbitrarily high cadence, but the idea is to wake your legs up. You then got a nice cruising period, you then got some primer efforts, so they're up to around VO2 max efforts, so around 115% of FTP. They're very short though. The idea behind those 3 little spikes in the middle is to really kind of rev you up, get you going. Another little cruising period to kind of get your breath back, and you can see that big block at the end is just a 20-minute full gas FTP test. Okay, and we're going to, after those VO2 efforts in the middle, that's when we're going to be turning erg mode off. Now, for anybody that's new, we turn erg mode off a lot in our sessions. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of erg mode, that's for another time. There is an article on our website on erg mode, when it's useful, when it's not, and you definitely do not want it on when you're doing an FTP test, guys, okay? Because the FTP test is basically meant to be kind of the best possible effort you can do for 20 minutes. And obviously if you've got erg mode on, that's going to totally limit you. And you're just going to come out with the same FTP, because that's essentially what the power target is set at for that FTP test at the end. It's just going to, there's 105% of FTP, and that's just going to spit out the same FTP as you've already got. Okay, so for those that are new, show you quickly how to turn erg mode off. If you go to, this is not for now by the way, this is for much later in the session, I will prompt you. But if you go to the sensors menu, this is for anyone with a smart bike or a smart trainer, you'll have this erg mode tab. I'm going to prompt you to turn that off in about half an hour's time. Okay, and what that will do is that will turn erg mode off, and then your turbo trainer will start to replicate the gradient of the course. We're on Borrego Springs this session, which is pan flat, so you shouldn't have any issues kind of with hills or anything like that. You should be able to hold nice consistent power, not constant, just consistent. Anyway, that's later, that's for later in the session. For now, we're just cruising. We've got those fast pedaling efforts, more cruising, those VO2 primer sets, and then some more cruising. Okay, so keep your fluids coming on board if you can. In terms of cadence, annoyingly my cadence meter has decided not to work this evening, but cadence wise, let's get your leg speed up above about 85 RPM now, as we're into about 68% of FTP now. Should be into that 4 out of 10 effort kind of category. Still pretty comfortable, but it's starting to get a bit of a grease on. Heart rate is slap bang in that zone 2 area. At the risk of overwhelming you guys, we talk about different jargon. Just to clarify anything now, when we talk about leg speed, we're talking about cadence, okay? RPM, cadence, leg speed. We use them all interchangeably, okay? And we try to give every interval, both as a power target, but also as a effort out of 10, 10 being a full-on sprint, just so that you kind of like, oh, actually, I'm not, this isn't right for me. And it might be that you're either fatigued, or maybe on an amazing day you just got like power for days, or maybe your FTP is not quite 100% right, and hopefully we'll get that sorted out tonight. Yeah, so we talk about power targets, we talk about rate of perceived exertion, F out of 10, and we also talk about training zones. Okay, I'll show you this chart very quickly, and I expect you. For this chart, it's available on our website. This basically breaks down the power zones, so you can see how it breaks up. It all correlates with rate perceived exertion still. So you can see what the effort should feel like and the typical duration. So this is available on our website. I want to go into that. What I do want to go into is those peak powers. I will do that though once we get through the fast pedaling efforts. Because as I say, each of those kind of personal bests over different durations, they correlate to kind of different metabolic changes in your body, different ways of producing energy. It'll make a bit more sense. Soon. For now though, 3 minutes just cruising. We're up to around 72% of FTP now. Definitely a 4 out of 10. Cadence wise, want to be upwards of 85 RPM. You've got tons of time before we get into that FTP test, guys. So stay nice and chilled. Keep the fluids coming on board. The vast majority of this session is a warm up, because you need to be nice and warm, ready to go for that FTP test. So your FTP, guys, your functional threshold power, it's the tipping point at which your body goes from working, with plenty of oxygen to buffer the build-up of lactate, to working more and more in the absence of oxygen. It's a tipping point. It's a threshold. Okay, it's that first point at which your body kind of starts to use different ways of making energy. Okay, that's what we're trying to pinpoint this evening. There's various ways to test for your FTP. This is just one of them. It's quite a straightforward one. Just a 20-minute effort at the end of the session, going as hard as you can for 20 minutes. And then what you do at the end of the session is you take your average power for that 20 minutes, you multiply it by 0.95, and what that does is it extrapolates out to predict the power that you should be able to hold for a full hour. Okay, that's essentially what your FTP is. It's that aerobic threshold, but it's also your hour power, which is why your FTP is one of our peak powers that we're talking about this evening. Okay, other FTP tests you can do, there's ramp tests. They're usually kind of quick and dirty. We use them with new athletes just to kind of get a ballpark FTP for them, but generally don't rely on them too much, because they can suit certain athletes more than others. A third way you can do it, other than this FTP test, is our full spectrum performance testing, which we do with our athletes, where we test all their key powers, all their peak powers in one go, and then finish off with an FTP test at the end. And the idea is we exhaust their anaerobic system, so that when they come to do the FTP test at the end, it's a pure measurement of their aerobic fitness, rather than kind of their anaerobic systems lending a hand. I did warn you that it was going to be a bit of a bombardment of information, guys. If you're new to this sort of stuff, do not worry. It will become clear over the course of the next few sessions. We'll explain this sort of terminology more and more, so that this stuff makes sense. Anyway, right, time to focus. 5 seconds, and then we're up to about 80% of FTP, but more importantly, here we go. So we want to spin those legs up. So you can see the cadence target is around 110 RPM. You've got a minute, so I want you to build into it. Just building that leg speed every few seconds. Then I want you to start relaxing the upper body. So you see what I did there? Because I'm riding at a vastly reduced FTP at the moment, just so I can talk, I'm sort of bracing myself. But when you've got high cadence like this, you want to draw your shoulders away from your ears, soften the elbows, because this will keep your bum planted on the saddle and allow you to spin your legs up without bouncing up and down. Okay? So, last 20 seconds, let's try it out. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Let's really pick up that leg speed. Try and top out 110 RPM if you're able to. Last few seconds, come on, get there. Yeah, good. And relax. Spinning up again, back down to about 65% of FTP. Back down to a 4 out of 10 effort. And keep the fluids coming on board. So just relax. That's round one. We've got 2 more rounds of that. Okay, here we go for round 2 then, guys. Get ready to spin out those legs. So this time, let's try and get up to 100 RPM and then build off that. Okay, keep relaxing those shoulders. Oh, I've got myself there. Relax those shoulders, spinning up those legs. So remember, we want to be over 100 RPM. 110 is the target. Last 2 seconds. Good, and relax, guys. Well done. So, 1 more to go. 1 more, okay. Just remember these guys, this is about kind of just switching on your fast twitch muscle fibers, those kind of explosive muscle fibers that we use when doing high intensity exercise. Okay, that's what these are about. Always a really good idea to do some fast pedaling efforts, even when you're out on a long low intensity ride. It just lifts your cadence a little bit, like from the default. I find it's very useful, particularly when I'm feeling a bit sluggish. Doing a few of these, it just kind of makes you ride with a bit more purpose, and gets you going, wakes you up, and kind of lifts that default cadence, so you're riding more efficiently than you might otherwise be. I think when you're a bit drowsy or tired, it's easy to kind of do things with poor form. But here we go. Right, last round. So build into it again. It's a minute, but I want this time for you to top out 120 RPM. So really rev it up. Get nice and relaxed in that upper body. Keep the bum pinned to the saddle. Really spin up those legs. Okay, last 30 seconds. Let's really get it going. Come on, we want to top out 120 RPM. Last 15. Come on, guys, get them going. Nearly there. And relax. Okay, just relax now, guys. Back down to that zone 2, sort of 65% of FTP mark. Back down to a 4 out of 10 effort. Spinning up the legs. Hopefully your default cadence feels naturally a bit higher. For me, I tend to spin at around 90 RPM just comfortably. For you, for anyone really, not that that's an impressive thing to do, it's just kind of my natural cadence, by the way. Wasn't trying to show off, it was just like that's what I do. Try and keep your leg speed up with about 85 RPM. So you're pedaling nice and efficiently. Okay, so we've got plenty of time now. It's cruising, have a little chat. This is all about just kind of getting you nice and warm before we get to that FTP test. Okay, anytime you do any kind of testing, you really want to make sure you're nice and warm, so that it's reflective of what you're capable of. So, peak powers. It's coming back to that old subject, even though I've bombarded you somewhat already. So, the 4 that we're focused on in this series, your 5-second power, your 1 minute power, your 5 minute power, and then your FTP. So we're working on that fourth one this evening, that FTP, with a 20-minute FTP test. Okay, so we talked about already that FTP, it's your aerobic threshold, your hour power. Okay, that tipping point. If you go up the intensity kind of ladder, the next tipping point is your VO2 max. Okay, your maximum volume of oxygen you can take in and utilize at any one point. Once you go beyond your VO2 max, you're working pretty much entirely anaerobically. So to symbolize your VO2 max power, that's what your 5 minute peak power is about. Okay, so we'll be doing sessions coming up which will enable you to collect data so that you can see what your best possible 5 minute power is like. Okay, so that's your 5 minute power, roughly corroborates your VO2 max power. Then there's what's called your anaerobic capacity, and that means your maximum potential for work in an anaerobic state. So you've got your FTP, your VO2 max, then your anaerobic capacity. Okay, the top ceiling on your ability to work in an anaerobic state, and that's leveraging what's called your lactic acid system. So that's that sort of effort where your legs just flood with lactate. So lactic acid is an energy source. Lactate is the waste product that builds up in our legs, causes fatigue and that burning sensation that we all know and love. Yeah. So for that, we test your 1 minute power. Okay. So that's going to give us an idea of your anaerobic capacity. And then the final one, your 5 second power, that's leveraging what's called your phosphocreatine system. It's what powerlifters use, when they're doing explosive lifts. It's basically good for very short duration, sort of sub 30-second efforts, sprints, essentially. And that is why we're testing in this series your 5 second power. So you'll have opportunities to really go for it in a sprint. The session that we've got coming up is also is on Canary Wharf. And essentially what we're going to do is kind of use the Canary Wharf sprint segment as a bit of a challenge, see who can do best in the session. And also it'll be a good opportunity to capture kind of basically your max sprint. There's a bit of competition even within the session there, not just in terms of the whole power ranking project. And that's kind of how we hope people will start to view their training. You can create competition, little races among your mates for the purposes of collecting data. And so yeah, you've got your FTP, your aerobic threshold, your VO2 max and your 5 minute power. You've got your anaerobic capacity, your 1 minute power, and then what's called your neuromuscular power, that 5 second power. Okay, all those personal bests signify something, a change in how your body works. Okay, now they're not ironclad, they're just a way of testing, they're a way of benchmarking. It's not that exactly at your 5 minute power, that's when you shift into your VO2 max or something like that. It's all benchmarking, guys. And the only real way to figure out some of this stuff exactly is through sort of lab testing. Okay, but they're really useful metrics to use, and you just basically keep track of these personal bests, and then over time you can see where you're developing in one way or another. Your 5 second power getting better, you're getting better in the sprints, or is your FTP ballooning, but then your sprints is not so good. You can start to see how you can use it to balance yourself out. More on that shortly. For now, let's get back to the session and really concentrate. We've got 3 VO2 efforts, so lung busting efforts, 115% of FTP. They're 30 seconds long, coming up in about 10 seconds. So let's get ready to go. Really nice high cadence on this, well above 95 RPM when we get there. In 3, 2, 1, here we go, come on. So really spin up those legs, driving, smash those pedals, come on. This should feel like a 9 out of 10 effort, than being a full-on sprint. to the last 10. There you go, 10 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and relax. So a minute between at a recovery level about, where are we at for this? Just check my set. So down to about 40% of FTP in between these VO2 primers. So it's like a 2 out of 10, really. Just spinning up, don't worry too much about your cadence right now. Just spin up the legs. Another 30 seconds, then we go again. So these are primer sets. Always good to do when you're doing an FTP test, just do a few sort of above threshold efforts, just to kind of really kind of give you a shake and wake you up. And really make sure those legs are switched on. You then obviously want a bit of time to recover from those efforts, then you're good to go for the FTP test. So here we go, 3, 2, 1, up we go. Back up to 115% of FTP. Spinning out those legs, let's try and get above 100 RPM on these. So we're still trying to make sure our cadence is nice and high. "15 seconds. Here we go in 10. 3, 2, 1. Okay, good job guys. One more of those bad boys to go. Okay, just one last VO2 burst. Then we've got another cruising sector. Another 5-minute cruising sector after this. And then we're into the big stuff. 20 seconds, let's get ready to go. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, up we go. Come on, guys. Back up to VO2 power. Really driving it on last time. Last primer effort. Last kind of slap across the face to get you going. Up to the last 10. Here we go. Come on, get that leg speed nice and high, upwards of 100 RPM now. Come on, really spin up. And relax. Okay, back down to a recovery level for a minute. Then we go back up to a cruising level. And it's during that 5-minute cruising interval, I'm going to encourage you to turn erg mode off. I'll walk you through that again if you're new to these types of sessions. Now just chill out, get your breath back, get the fluids back on board, and generally just chill out a little bit. Nice and easy. Bring your legs back online, try and get them above about 80 RPM on the cadence before we get back into the cruising effort, going up to 65% of FTP again, so back into that zone 2, kind of 4 out of 10 level effort. 3, 2, 1, up we go. So get the legs going again, but it should be nice and cruisy for the next 5 minutes. Going to start to talk to you about the FTP test itself and why it's important, etc. But firstly, just want to walk you through how to turn erg mode off. And let's do this now, guys, okay? Let's give ourselves plenty of time to kind of get used to the gradients, or lack thereof, or just get into the right gear. So what you're going to do, guys, go to your menu, go to sensors. This is for anyone with a smart bike or a smart turbo. If you're running a power meter and non-smart trainer combo, don't worry about it, just if you've got a smart bike or smart trainer. So what you're going to do, I'm going to leave it on because I need to run it as something, okay? But for those with a smart bike or smart trainer, press this erg mode tab till it turns white, and then just click back off onto the session, and just wait sort of 10-15 seconds, and erg mode will disengage. It can take a little while. You may not notice it immediately, to be honest, depending on what gear you're in. But then what's going to happen is your smart bike or smart trainer will start to simulate the gradients of Borrego springs, and yeah, should be pretty manageable. You have to look after your own gearing. Don't worry too much about trying to hit the power target, okay? Just ride comfortably. It really doesn't matter. The whole of this session up until now really is warm up. So if you've got any red intervals, no one cares. It doesn't matter. This isn't necessarily about kind of conditioning, this is about testing. It's all about the 20-minute ep at the end. Sorry, just looking at the questions coming in from on RGT. Erg mode on a what bike pro trainer? Doesn't matter what you want, turn erg mode off. You do not want it on, because what's going to happen in that 20-minute test, I have to put in something for the workout, and it's set at 105% of FTP, which is going to be helpful to you because that's what your current FTP is. That's your current FTP if you stayed at that level for 20 minutes. It's just gonna, you times that by 0.95 and you just get your own current FTP. So basically what we provided you with is a baseline. So when we go into the FTP test, your goal is to basically stay above that power target at all times, and that will give you a higher FTP. Okay? Now this FTP test, let's break it down. Sorry, I just had a message come through on the live stream chat, and it's advert. Anyway, very annoying when you're mid-session and you have to skim a long message and you realise it's an advert. So this FTP test, let's break it up into 4 or 5 minute sections. And guys, trust me on this, do your best to try and follow this advice. I've done it every which way you could possibly imagine. And so have our athletes. This is always the best way, I promise you. That first 5 minutes, maybe don't even try and hit the sort of arbitrary target that's in there. Build into it. 20 minutes is such a long time. You have so much time to improve on what you're currently at, okay? So the first 5 minutes, build into the effort. Don't stress about power targets. Just kind of go on effort, because you might find that you're still not rare at the races, okay? This 5 minute sector, you might cool down a little bit. So it might take you a minute or two to get going again. All right, so don't stress. So first 5 minutes, we build. Second 5 minutes, we get to a level that we know we can definitely hold, and we hold it. Third 5 minutes, we look to pick it up a bit if we've got something in the legs. Then final 5 minutes, it's just the throw for the finish line. It's just everything you got, emptying the tank, turning yourself inside out, pure hell. So it's only really that last 5 minutes that should be kind of pure hell, basically. Okay? Right, erg mode is off for everyone. Okay, you do not want it on. This 20 minutes is the hardest. It is the highest power that you can put out over a 20-minute period. Okay, you do want erg mode limiting that power. Right, so let's get engaged. 20 seconds, last swigs of water until we get into it, and as you go through the set, just keep little sips, no big gulps. Pick up the leg speed, get above 85 RPM. We want to be above 90 RPM throughout this test. Okay? Come on, pick it up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. And stay disciplined. Stay calm. Don't go crazy. Build into it. Okay? You get absolutely 0 prizes for going big at the beginning. The prizes come at the end. Okay, so stay disciplined. I promise you, you will see dividends. If you try and hit and hold, to try and go big right from the start and hold it, it's going to be one long date with pain. Okay, so build into it steadily. It's always so much better to finish hard, finish strong. You will do much better than if you're trying to hit and hold, and you'll have a big drop off. Whereas if you build steadily, you may go too conservative and have loads of juice at the end, but you'll do better than if you hit and hold and crash. Okay? I'll stop labouring that point. So nice high cadence upwards of 90 RPM, remember? Yeah, so any RPM advice for the blocks? Assuming the FTP blocks, yes. Basically you want to keep your cadence as consistent as possible. Keep it above 90 RPM. Okay? Pedaling nice and efficiently. And then as your intensity increases, hopefully you take your cadence up with it. So when we're right at the end of the last 5-minute effort and you're absolutely crushing the pedals, hopefully it's with a nice high cadence. One thing you definitely want to avoid, guys, is pushing a gear where your cadence is below, I'd say 85, 80. Okay, if you're pushing a big heavy gear and your cadence is lower than that, it's not the right gear for you. Change up, get into an easier gear. Okay? It's way too long to be trying to roll a big heavy gear. Above 90 RPM on that cadence, remember. You're over halfway through that first 5-minute sector. Don't look too far ahead, just look at the last 2 and a bit minutes. Just building steadily. You shouldn't be suffering already. Don't get me wrong, you should be working hard, but you shouldn't be dying 1,000 deaths already. Nice and steady, keep it going, guys. Alright, and stay relaxed in that upper body. Something you have to keep reminding yourself. I always have to as well. Just remember to draw the shoulders away from the ears. Just nice and soft in the upper body. As we said earlier, it's going to keep your bum planted on the saddle. That means you're going to be able to produce power with a stronger foundation. Okay, so all these small things that can help you get through this. Not long, and then we're into that second 5-minute sector. So remember, we're building, then the second 5-minute sector, we want to try and hold. So let's get up to a level that we know that we can definitely hold for the final 15 minutes. We will seek to improve down the line, but for the next 5, let's hold a level we know we can sustain. But let's finish strong, remember. Okay, we're into that second 5-minute sector now. Looking just to sustain, keeping that cadence upwards of 90 RPM, remember. just tick those minutes down in each sector. Don't look too far ahead. They think about the legs. You'll be really surprised how things can turn around. Don't worry if you're suffering and you're finding it hard already. Don't worry. You can turn things around. Most important thing is to stay positive. Okay, I've had tests where I started out abysmally, couldn't get anywhere near my target, and then for some reason the legs just click and boom. Okay, so stay on it. If nothing else, guys, stay with it, because you're going to get a big conditioning effect from this session. Don't just obsess about power targets. Obsess about the fact that this is going to make you fitter. So do not give up. Keep it positive. Keep driving on. Stay focused.
Next level.
You're halfway through this second 5-minute sector. Holding nice and steady. Don't get carried away, just keep it steady for now. The watt cannons going to fire shortly. For now, we need to get within kind of touching distance of the finish. Okay, just a minute and 20 left of the second 5-minute sector. Then you're on a downward slope towards the finish line. Metaphorically speaking, I'm afraid. Last 45. And then what we're going to do, guys, we're going to look to increase our effort, but only in small increments, okay? Don't start turning off the burners on. Still 10 minutes to go. Just going to pick it up slightly. Start by just lifting the cadence within that gear, okay? So often it's really easy to kind of think, oh, I need to increase the power, so I go into a heavier gear. Often you've got a big power range within a single gear, okay? So in 10 seconds I want you to lift the cadence. See how much extra power you can get out within that gear before it comes too uncomfortable to hold such high cadence. Come on. Right, lift the cadence, okay? See what happens to the power. Small increments. Not like in touch paper just yet. We're into that third 5-minute sector, so we're just steadily building, just lifting it if we can, if there's something there. This is where we do want to be above that arbitrary power target that's in the workout. Okay? cadence, you can do this. Positive thinking again. All right. Don't think about what's wrong. Think about what's right. You're absolutely smashing this, okay? You're going to build, you're going to pick it up, and you're going to finish hard. The pain in your legs can wait. That cadence, not upwards of 90 RPM. If you're dropping below 80 in that gear, you need an easier gear. Okay, it's just that simple. Below 80, you get increasingly less efficient. Okay, so do not roll that big heavy gear. When you're within 5 minutes, you do what the hell you like just to get that extra power out. But for now, keep it efficient for the next 3 minutes. We're halfway through sector 3. Still building as steadily as we can. Oh guys, you're getting there now, you're really getting close. This is when it starts to really hurt. This is when you're gonna have to start to digging deep if you're not already. And that's when the positive thinking really matters. It's not something, it doesn't have to be something you believe necessarily. Just say it over and over again, you're gonna do this, you're gonna smash this, pick it up, let's go, whatever it is. Just keep saying it to yourself as a positive affirmation. It will lift you. Just gotta say it enough times and push out the negativity, and your legs will switch on. Right, 1 minute left of sector 3. And then guys, all bets are off. It's what you got left. Powering, just remember 5 minutes, it is a long time, okay? So pick it up again if you can. But let's save that finishing sprint. Feel closer. "30 seconds less, we'll get ready to turn and burn." All right? You can do this, guys, come on. Let's go big. Ready? 15 seconds. Then we're gonna go for it. This is where you can make a huge difference, guys. If you say something in the tank and you're ready to power on, this is where you can do some big business. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's lift it, guys, okay? Just steadily. 5 minutes is still a long time, but this is when we go to that deep, dark place. Just stomping on those pedals, hopefully with a nice high cadence. But let's go big now, come on. The reins are off. Coming up towards the first minute down. Just take this minute by minute. Don't look too far ahead. Don't get inside your head. Just drive it minute by minute. Come on. Just focus on the next one. Coming up towards 2 down, 3 to go. 3 minutes of hard work, 3 minutes of turning yourself inside out. Okay, then you're done. So don't hold back now. Don't think about anything else other than this next 3 minutes. And just hurt yourself as much as you can and trying to enjoy it. Every extra pedal stroke, every extra watt is going to increase that FTP now. That's your sole goal. This power ranking project is all about being competitive within your training. It's in exactly the context that we're talking about. Smash this last 2.5 minutes and then brag about it to your mates. That's what this is about. Or if you know your mate's FTP, you've got 2 minutes to try and put it to the sword. Ready? Come on. 2 minutes. Let's lift it again. Come on, pick it up. Come on, just drive it on. Then when we get to 60 seconds to go, everything you got. So just powering it for this 50 seconds, and then we go. A 30. Get ready for it, guys. Get ready for it. Increase the leg speed. 10 seconds. Then we're going to go for it. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Last minute. Come on. Power it, power it, power it. Don't think too much. Just go. Come on, guys, you can do this. Okay, 30 seconds to kick, lift it. Finishing sprint comes at 15 seconds to go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Finishing sprint, let's kick, come on. Lift, 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 lift. 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo. There you go, guys. Brutal session. Brutal. Never a fun thing to do, really. Hopefully you feel great now. Hopefully you feel awesome. Well, maybe a bit too soon for that. Once you got your breath back, hopefully you get a big rush of endorphins and all that kind of stress dissipates and you feel great. Guys, really well done. Never an easy thing to do on a Monday evening, but excellent work. So just remember, look back at your data after this. That you want the average power for that 20-minute effort. You take that average power, you times it by 0.95, and that will give you your estimated hour power, your FTP, okay? That's what you want to do after the session. For now, just spin up, flush out some of that lactate, get the fluids on board, have a nice high protein meal after this. Stretch routines, etc. on the website as always. If you've not been onto our website, guys, on pretty much every page there's a training resources section. Tons of articles, stretch routines, know-how demos, blah blah blah. All kinds of resources just sitting there for free. Okay, so go check it out and then have a browse at the rest of our website if you want. But my name is Rich, guys. I'm the founder and head coach of RIAK. Yeah, you'll be seeing more of me over the course of the next 7 weeks, should you decide to join us. Okay, quick little look-see at next week, shall we? As I say, this is the worst session. This is the least fun one. Next up, though, we've got hill climbing challenge next week. Okay, and that's going to be an opportunity to let me just check which one it is. Yeah, so it's going to be an opportunity to pick up that 5-minute power. Okay, and you can do it with some hill reps basically. More on that next week. But guys, hopefully you kind of enjoyed that. Like I say, next week will be much more fun, much more dynamic, much more competitive. But while I'm getting through that, use that FTP to set your FTP and RGT or whatever platform you're using. Okay. And yeah, make sure it's accurate. You want to update it roughly every sort of 12 weeks or so. Even if it goes down, guys, change that FTP in the platform, because we've talked about the key metrics, peak powers, etc., training zones. All of those will be off if your FTP is incorrect. And you want to be working the right energy systems. If you're working too hard or not hard enough, you're not going to be hitting those right power zones, those right heart rate ranges, and it will impact your training, make it less effective. Okay, and also what happens is if you're training too hard, your FTP is consistently too high, you have to go too deep each session, guys. You're just going to need more and more recovery, and it's going to stem the gains that you could be making. Anyway, that's enough for me. Thanks very much for your company, everyone. If anyone's got any questions, I will stick around for a couple of moments. But otherwise, guys, go get yourself a nice well-earned rest. Thanks, Matt. Cheers, David. Thanks, everyone on Zoom and those guys watching on the live stream. Thanks for your company, guys. If anyone's got any questions after the session, you can always email us, info@riak.fitness, or you can hit us up on one of the social media channels. Always love a chat.